You're listening to Living at the Highest Level with LATHL.
You're listening to Living at the Highest Level with LATHL, Koyaliev, Andreo, Farshad Kivi, and Myke Macapinlac.
Yes.
Our special guest, and LATHL got his name right.
What's up? 2 takes, no big deal. We're rolling, guys. Okay, Myke. So, let's do a quick introduction for you. You are the author and founder of the Social Man Project. So, you've been featured in Breakfast TV, the Calgary Herald, and some Shaw programs as well. So, tell us a bit about what you do.
So my goal is to help shy single men to become more socially confident so they can create the social and dating life that they deserve.
Okay. And then how did this whole journey start for you? Like, were you good with women when you were young, or was it something that, you had challenges with, and then once you found that aha moment and you, got great at this skill set, you wanted to share it at that point, or how did it develop?
No, dude, I sucked terribly with with women and just making friends when I was younger because, as you know, your environment shapes your behavior, right? So I grew up in a small farm back in the Philippines, and then my teenage years were spent in the Middle East. So from 11 to 16, I grew up in a pretty secluded environment where, making eye contact with women is frowned upon because it's, I grew up in a Muslim culture. So when I moved to Canada, not only did I not speak English, I was also 200 pounds, so massively overweight, and had severe social anxiety.
For those of you who can't see, he's not a very tall guy.
Yeah, 5'5". So they call me Big Mac when I was younger. So back in high school, I was so shy that I ate my lunch in a bathroom stall. I avoided every single social interaction. So that being said, I had a tough time making friends, and that really affected my social life. And it's no surprise that I barely got dates. So I was a late bloomer when I was younger.
When did you come to Canada?
I came here when I was 17.
Nice. And along that journey, somewhere led you to getting onto breakfast television. What did you do on Shaw TV? What were you? Were you hosted on that? Yeah,
I was featured. I was featured this year on Valentine's Day on a segment called Finding True Love. And
damn.
And on Breakfast TV, they brought me on to do a segment called Dating for Dudes. So
sweet. All right. Well, let's find out the story between eating lunch in a bathroom stall and being featured on TV for Valentine's Day. I think that's a notable journey.
Yeah. So I think we go to school to learn skills, and if you think about it too, where do you learn dating skills, right? It's not like your parents taught you how to talk to girls, or your friends back in high school taught you how to communicate with the opposite sex. Society puts this pressure on men to just have this part of their lives figured out, and that's very unfair because how else are you going to know, right? If you're not educated, if you're not properly informed on how to do things, then you can't expect a specific outcome if you don't prepare for it. So that being said, I floundered around when I was younger trying to figure this out. And I think, it's just one heartbreak to the other, being stuck in the friend zone, being used, being manipulated, spending so many lonely Friday and Saturday nights. I said, I've had enough of this. So one day I was sitting in front of my computer and I Googled how to pick up girls. And I found resource after resource after resource on how to do this. And I'm like, oh my God, I found the answer. So what happened was, almost 7 nights a week, I went out, man, every single night, practicing.
So
I'm doing
testing.
air quotes. I'm doing air quotes here, practicing, going out at the club, using all these lines and techniques and stuff. And to my surprise, it actually worked, got dates, took home some girls. And I became very addicted to this. And then got to a point where I wasn't really sure why I was doing it at that point. Because the thing is, I thought the very thing that I was pursuing was going to fulfill that void. But ironically, what happened was I created a bigger void. Because the thing is, I was addicted to women. I was addicted to relationships. I was using it as a drug because I didn't know the difference between alone and lonely. So alone is a choice that you make on your own to enjoy your own company. Lonely is when you're relying on external relationships to tell you that you are enough as a person. Mm-hmm. So at that moment, I said, you know what, I need help. I can't figure this out on my own. And that's when I sought out a dating company in Calgary, and I took their program, and it changed my life. And then back then, this was 2008 when the recession hit, and I got laid off from my engineering job. And I was persistent. I begged these guys to take me on as an intern. And, lo and behold, they did. And long story short, we traveled across Canada doing these weekend programs for guys to just help them, become more socially confident, to go out and communicate their best self to women with good intentions. And then that's how I got experience in the dating industry, and then eventually I ventured off and started the Social Man Project.
What was that company called?
Kingpin Social. So my first mentor was, his name's Cam Adair, and he's actually an international speaker now, talking about overcoming video game addictions.
Holy
So he's come a long way. He's been on TED Talks and a bunch of TV shows.
Did I meet him the other night in Yaletown?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I didn't know that's who that was.
Yeah, he's a big deal, dude.
Man, I was like shooting it with him. I'm like, this guy's cool. I had no idea.
Yeah, he's
that's
super
wicked.
legit. He's
All
super
right.
legit.
So you said you found like the success roughly around 2008.
2008 is when I asked for help.
Okay.
Is when I finally threw my hands in the air and I said, I can't do this on my own.
Because we're all roughly the same age,
Uh-huh.
and I think the pickup artist industry was predominantly started around 2005 era when The Game came out, Neil Strauss's book.
Yeah.
And I think from then on, like, there's been such a huge business in teaching guys how to pick up women and such. So for your story, there's a very like a positive ending too, but there's been like the flip side of that, where like guys have been reported to be harassing women and such. So from your point of view, Myke, because you're on the coaching side of leading men and developing their skill set, how does that affect you and your business?
I think more than anything, it's the intention, right? Because I talk about in the program that we do for the Social Man Project, there is a big difference between trying to meet a girl versus making someone's day. Because when you're trying to meet a girl, it means that you're coming in from a place of lack, and your whole sense of identity is dependent on if the girl meets you back.
External
right?
validation.
So you're coming in at an 8, and if she meets you back, then now you're a 10, right? But if you're coming in from a place of, I just want to make your day, you're overflowing with value, and you're detached from the outcome, and you're just coming in to just give with no expectation of what's going to happen whatsoever. So, and I think that puts guys in a more empowered state, because they don't care what happens. Because the thing is, you don't really know. You're going in there just wanting to give a gift, and the thing is, if the girl doesn't take your gift, you never leave empty-handed. So a lot of guys who are trying to, get their sense of fulfillment from getting a phone number or getting a makeout or having a one-night stand, if that doesn't happen, then that's a huge hit on their ego and their identity about who they are. How do I know that? Because I've been that guy, and it sucks. It's awful, because you're coming home, you're beating yourself, and it's like you're
literally beating yourself.
Literally beating yourself. Yeah. I wrote about this on Facebook today. I said, if your biggest concern in life is not being able to get a date, I really want guys to just pause and take a moment, because man, like we're so capable of doing so much more, And if all you're doing, if all you want to do in life is to just get a date, like man, like you're wasting your potential. You're built for so much more than just trying to get girls. Ironically, once you start to align yourself with your passion and your purpose, getting women is going to be a byproduct, because women want to be aligned with men who are pursuing something greater than who they are.
Yeah,
right. They want to be part of a bigger picture. They want to be part of someone's world. They don't want to be the world for someone.
Agreed. And Dad, if I may, because you touched on what came out in 2005 with Neil Strauss and The Game and the whole pickup artist industry. What's really been happening with the internet is entire industries have been blossoming just out of information. Because what I've seen, and I'd like you to touch on this, Myke, is you have an entire generation of people who have been starving for wisdom. They're drowning in information now because of the internet. But I mean, the pickup industry, like, fitness, everything else, everybody's been so hungry because they haven't been getting taught, right? Would you say that that desire for those, that external validation comes from a place of lack, because they don't know how, whereas, maybe if they've been taught in school or from a young age, then they wouldn't have this neediness to go and pick up girls?
You know what's funny that you bring that up, Corey? The lack of skill sets that kids nowadays, and even in my own experience, when I went through school, it was more of just going to school and not really going to learn or going to develop skills to grow or anything. It was more of you go there, you listen to what they say, and then you go home. And I think that's a huge part of why some of the guys that are growing up in our era just don't have that skill set, unless you, like, a lot of the ones that do are either, like, athletes of some sort that have, like, other social validations. But if you're like a lonely kid growing up and going to school from like 8 to 4 every day, and you're lonely, and especially for guys like me, Mike, and Andrew, if we didn't know English when you're young, it makes it like 10 times harder, man. Believe me. I've been there.
Yeah. So, like, and you guys seemingly have a similar story to tell. What do you see when people do learn these skills? When they, not even the skill. I mean, we're not talking about being able to like pick up a girl, but just the the inherent ability to like be comfortable with yourself, to approach somebody without any ulterior motives other than to make a connection. What are you seeing when you develop? I mean, this is what you do. You coach people, right? So what are the wins you see people have, particularly young men? And I know you're getting into the women as well, but particularly in young men, what are you seeing as the result of that development?
I think the biggest thing the biggest lack that I've seen from the guys that I've worked with, and I've worked with over 200 guys the last 5 years, from like 19 to 60. There's one thing in common that they're all missing. They don't know what they want.
That's really interesting. It's funny.
The first question that I ask them is, so now they're like, okay, like, what's your goal, right? Like, that's the first question that I ask. It's if you and I are having this conversation after the program, what needs to happen for you to be happy with your outcome? So they're gonna go on their spiel. I want to meet more girls. I want to get more dates. Blah blah blah. Right? Same song.
And it's ambiguous. It really is ambiguous.
And now, when you ask them why, when you ask them why 5 times, it comes down to this: they don't want to be alone. That's it, right? Because the thing is, you're going out there, you're approaching all these girls, but why? Like, what's your criteria for going up and talking to this girl? Because the thing is, you can't just go out there and if you don't know what you're looking for, you're not going to find it, right? So the first thing we set is we figure out what is it that you want. Let's get clarity about
number one, baby. Number one. So that book right beside you there is a unabridged, unpublished version of The Law of Success. It was actually banned from publishing in 1925, and you can't buy it in stores. And number one chapter talks about how 95% of people do not have a main purpose. They do not know what they want. Exactly. And it is the number one cause for failure. Mm-hmm. And this is, Mike, the skills you're teaching here aren't just with women. It transfers into business. It transfers into your family life. It transfers in whether you're an artist or you're a businessman or you're a bodybuilder. We got Andrew here. They don't have that desire, that why. There's no why for them.
Mm-hmm. I come from a behavioral science perspective when I coach guys, because really that's really it, right? If you're trying to become better at communicating with women and having better social skills, it comes down to a shift in your behavior. And there's 3 parts to that. There's many books that talks about behavioral science, but the one that really stands out to me is a book called Switch by Dan and Chip Heath. So they talk about the elephant rider and in the path, which means that your logic, your emotions, and your environment have to be firing towards the same direction if you want to create a permanent change. Because the thing is, the biggest thing that I've noticed
Hey, let's slow down for the audience here. Not everyone's auditory, particularly young males. Okay. Your logic. So Dan and Chip, we're talking about a book. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a book.
It's called Switch by Dan and Chip. Last name?
Heath.
Okay, sorry. And you said your logic,
your emotions,
and
your environment. They all have to be firing towards the same direction, or else you're not going to create a permanent change.
Okay.
It's going to be a nice...
How's that for a cognition, guys? How's that for a cognition? I know he wants to take off on us here. Yeah, your logic, your emotions, and your environment have to be basically firing you towards your desire, what you want.
Exactly.
And number one, before you said, was you need to know what you want.
Yeah.
So that you can live by design and not by default, which is what we're talking about right now. Exactly. So continue. Sorry, I just wanted to really cover that point.
For sure. So your logical mind is, I mean, you gotta know you have to know what you're working towards. It's kind of like when you're on a road trip, right? You know, you got to put a specific destination to where you want to go. You know, if you just put, you know, like the street name and you don't put the postal code, like your Google Maps doesn't know where to take you. Right? You got to know exactly what you're working towards, because your journey is never going to be a straight line. There's going to be a lot of detours, wrong turns, and stuff like that. But if you know exactly what you're working towards, you'll always be able to get back on track. And in terms of emotions, you need to connect emotionally with your goal. Like, why does it matter to you? Why do you want to meet this girl? What would this relationship mean to you? Why? Right? And then from then on, you need to make sure that your environment is conducive to support your goals. You know, like a lot of guys are talking, you know, they want to meet this girl who's ambitious, highly motivated, fit, attractive, all these things, but they're out in the club every single weekend.
Probably not the best pool for it.
And if you think about it, you know, like I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying there's no good people who go in the club, but man, you're working so much harder, right? Because the thing is, anyone can go to the club, right? You don't know who's going to be there. Lately, I've been teaching my guys to make a list of the things that they really, really love to do research ahead of time, and then put themselves in those environments and just meet women along the way. Because let's be honest here, man, like sex is easy. How you get along outside of the bedroom is what matters most. You know,
powerful stuff right there.
The conversations you're gonna have. You know, do you like their friends? Do their friends like you? Can you have a legitimate conversation? Can you do things together?
But I think a lot of people, they think that sex is the end all and be all. For a lot of guys that haven't experienced that, they
coming from lack, right? Because that's what it's coming from lack. They haven't gotten it. They're coming from a place of being, you know, uneducated, and they desire it because they feel that it's going to fulfill them. Exactly on point. Real quick question for you, because you and I had this conversation in Yaletown. We got together at a networking event, and there was all these amazing people there who had like all these similar interests to me. And I just walked up to Mike, like, Mike, it's amazing. He's like, yeah, man, this is what I do. Like, this is how you're going to meet the girl of your dreams. This is how you're going to meet the friends of your dreams, is you need to get like-minded people together. Well, ultimately, how did I meet these like-minded people? Is you go to places where like people who have similar interests to you are going to be. One quick question for you. So you said have a specific, you know, destination, you know, have your desire and your plan. For me, what I found, maybe you can touch on this, is, you know, I've found the best women in my life when I've been focused on my own goal that's beyond a relationship. I mean, I have that relationship goal there. Like, yeah, it's a desire. You know, these are my expectations, what I want for it. But truly, I found myself most attractive to other women and most naturally, you know, just coming across it when I'm in pursuit of a goal, you know, and then you can find out whether or not that relationship's going to support it or not. But can you touch on that? Like, what would you say on that front of going after something bigger?
I think it's the person who's willing to walk away from the relationship who has the most power. Right. And if you're in alignment with your passion and your purpose, and you're latched on to what you're working towards, you can genuinely express how you feel towards a girl and be detached from the outcome. Like, you can tell a girl, "Hey, I really like you," and you don't come across as needy. You come across from a place of power, and you're expressing your authentic feelings towards this person. But the thing is, you don't care whether she feels the same way towards you or not, because the thing is, it wouldn't, you know, the girl can say, "I don't feel the same way," and you're like, "Oh, that's cool," and you're authentic about it. You're like, "Okay, that's cool."
Yeah.
Right. You're not like "Oh my god."
You might get a little sting, and then you're like, "All right, you know, like I got stuff to do."
Yeah, you got a place to go, right? Like, you're not gonna just sit there and dwell.
Exactly.
I was listening to, and I don't know what your thoughts are on Mark Manson.
Big fan.
Yeah, I really like it. Like his, I think for those listeners listening and watching here, he's got a book called Models, where he really just sums up the pickup artist industry, and he talks about exactly that. Like you need to have something bigger that is occupying your energy and your desire, so your desire doesn't come off as neediness when you do meet the woman that you that you like, right? All right, let's continue on, shall we?
So, Myke, in your experience, can you talk about a particular story that really stood out from one of your students of what they were like before they did the program, how they were during the program, like what are they like now, and kind of like their history afterwards?
Sure. There's two guys that come to mind. So, I'm not, for the sake of their privacy, I'm not going to mention their names, but I will describe their situation. So I work with this guy who was 5'3". He was half Asian, half white. And, he was all caught up with, in the whole pickup industry, going to the club every single weekend. And, he's just floundering around. He's going out there. He doesn't really know what he's looking for. He wasted time, money, energy, and effort, right? Trying to meet women at the wrong place. So when we started working together, I asked him all these things. And the thing with this guy, he's very interesting. Like he speaks French. He's an archer. Right? And he does martial arts. So I told him...
bows and arrows for you folks out there.
Right. That's right. So I told him to start focusing on pursuing more of these passions and eliminate activities that just waste your time and doesn't make you a better person. Because the thing is, whatever you do, you should always do it for yourself first. I encourage my guys to be selfish, because selfish and self-serving are not the same. Right, because you need to make sure that you are complete first. You are fulfilling your own relationships before you worry about other people. So lo and behold, he met a girl at his archery class, and every single Valentine's Day, I get a phone call from him saying it's our first Valentine's Day together. It's our second Valentine's Day together. I had a phone call from him this year. He said it's his third Valentine's together with his girlfriend, and she's an attractive girl, way taller than him, but because she was able to see him at his best self and his element, then he was able to really convey value, right, in a way that set him apart from other guys. Another guy that that really stood out to me is my 60-year-old client, twice my age. So when I met him, I'm just like, man, like I don't know how I'm gonna work with this guy. But when we sat down in conversation and we went through the questions, the first thing that I asked is, what are you looking for? And he gave me this look as if he's never heard of this question before. And that's when I knew I had value to give him. So long story short, he went through the program, and I got a phone call 2 weeks after the boot camp, and he's saying he's in a brand new relationship again. And he's been divorced twice. Married for 22 years, got divorced. Married for 5, got divorced. But now that he's so clear about what he's looking for, and he can identify his limiting beliefs, his emotions, he's able to communicate women in a more emotionally engaging way. Then his approach the third time around was a lot more efficient. That's why, I mean, it's no secret, right? You just have to know what you're looking for. You have to put yourself in the right environments, and you need to stack the odds in your favor, and that's how you win.
So, and you teach that then, right? So when we're talking about, getting your logical mind, your emotions, and your environment all aligned, I mean, I've seen this in action. So I'm assuming that's all that is included in what you do as part of what you're doing. You're coaching.
We talk about positioning rather than prospecting. Because if you think about this, right, at every you've been to one of my parties, Corey, Andrew, and I haven't invited you guys yet, but
Farshad's been not on the inside yet, man.
It's in our VSP the other day.
I technically was invited, so you're the only one.
He's actually fresh back on the market, just so everybody knows.
So one of the biggest things that I do, so I've been in Vancouver now for 3 months, and the 8th week that I've been here, I've been able to rebuild my social circle and more, because one of the things that I do is I position myself as the host of get-togethers and parties. Because the thing is, if you go to a party, who has the highest social value? It's the host, right? But the thing is, you could have been a doctor who saved thousands of lives, right? Maybe found a cure for cancer. But if you go to the club, who's going in first? It's not him. It's the 19-year-old girl, fake tan, fake tits, short skirt, plunging neckline, blonde highlights.
double-digit IQ.
I'll be following her.
Yeah.
I'll be right behind her walking in.
Yeah, because in that environment, she has social value. So the doctor is playing a losing game before it even starts, right? So I teach my guys to get out of losing environments, put themselves in situations where they are most likely to win, right? And that means that I encourage guys to host their own parties.
That's why I love being a host. I love cooking dinners. I love having dinner parties. I love making dinner. You're an excellent host, by the way. You need to get yourself a bitchin' pad. For all you ladies out there, far shot here. I fall in love with him every time I eat dinner at his place.
No, Myke, that's profound though, man. Like the host of the party having the most value. I never really thought about it like that.
Because you control all elements of what everyone does.
Because think about it, right? The biggest fear that most men have is the fear of approaching, correct?
Right.
Why is that? Because at that moment, they're not positioned well. So, because most PUAs, I'm doing air quotes, are prospecting, right? They're walking around and
PUAs is pickup artists.
They're just randomly approaching women with no context of the environment. I'm not saying don't do that, by all means go. But the thing is, I would focus more on putting yourself in environments where you can shine, where you can convey value, right? Like invite friends and get your friends to invite friends too. Because the thing is, if you like someone, the likelihood of them having someone very, very like-minded to your friend is going to be very high. Right, so that being said, you can filter through the kind of people you're meeting already. And for a busy guy, I work with a lot of career-oriented people.
Just about to ask that question.
Yeah, they're busy people. They don't have time to go out 7 nights a week. Dating should add on to your life. It shouldn't take away from you, right? Dating should complement you. It shouldn't be a pain in the ass. So you can literally go out once or twice a week, but if you're showing up at the right place, if you're doing all the right things, then that's all you need.
Getting to that, Dat has about 30 people working in his business, and I've got about 70 or so. And these are, young gentlemen and ladies. I would say it's about a 80-20 or 70-30 split of male to female. And these are young, goal-oriented sales guys that and girls that are really working on improving themselves. Mm-hmm. But I still see it again and again and again. The chase, and maybe I did set a bad example. But I was never a Tinder guy. I was always organic. I always did it in the coffee shops and the restaurants. But the chase, it's nonstop. And with the Tinder and the social media and the Snapchat and they're lining up with women that just have nothing in common with them. So what would your recommendation? These guys are on the road. They're working a busy life. Any tips for our boys over at the LATHL sales team?
I think comparison kills, right? And this goes back to what I said earlier. If you don't know what you want, then you're going to have this insatiable need to always compare yourself to other people. It's like, oh, why is that guy going on a date with that girl? Why is that girl, dating this guy, whatever? Because the thing is, if you don't know what you want, then it's easy for you to be influenced by what other people want. So this goes back to what you said earlier about having a definite purpose of what you're working towards. Until that's clear, until you can recite that like your phone number or your address.
That was literally in an audiobook I listened to this morning.
There you
go. You
go.
got to know it as good as your own name or as good as your own address.
Exactly, right? Until you can say your goal as quickly as your phone number, then don't do anything else.
So quickly going back to your boot camp, Myke, is it like a 2-week thing? Is it a weekend?
It's a 90-day program.
It's a 90-day program. And
Yeah.
you stay with them throughout the whole 90 days, or like how do you guys communicate through that whole process?
Yeah, so it's no different. So we start off with a plan. Like, let's get clear about what you're working towards. Let's get connected with your why. Let's get centered with the emotional component of your goals. And then from then on, we identify all the potential roadblocks and speed bumps that they're going to encounter along the way, so we can prepare ahead of time. So limiting beliefs, biggest fears, knowledge gaps. Those are huge. And then once that's done, we rehearse and practice in a safe environment, and then I take them out on the weekend, to get them the right experience. Because the thing is, practice alone doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. So I teach my guys to come in, and again, come in from the intention of making someone's day.
Right.
Right? And then so we go through like we go through a style. Oh my God, like a style makeover is huge for a lot of guys. For a lot of guys, it takes 1/10 of a second for someone to make their opinion of you. Most educated adults will give their children to a stranger wearing a white lab coat because they think he's a doctor, right? People have already made up their minds about you, whether they like you or not, based on their perception. Right. So most guys, but the thing is, that's so easy. It's so preventable, right? So why wouldn't you take care of that ahead of time?
It's a give. It's so funny that we work in sales and I coach sales, and I say number one, before you do anything else, it's like the moment the sale starts, the moment you walk in to meet this prospect, the moment the door opens, the moment the phone is picked up, whatever it is, let's say face-to-face, you are transmitting data. And they are using, whether you think they are or they're not, they're processing that data and making decisions.
Exactly.
So don't transmit any data that's going to work against you.
Exactly.
Don't smell bad. Don't dress bad.
Exactly.
Don't, groom yourself. Stand tall. Have good posture, right? And have a smile on your face. It's common sense. But, they say common sense ain't so common.
Yeah.
So.
And the biggest thing that I tell my guys is to expect to meet someone worthwhile every single day before you leave your house. You have to expect. Prepare ahead of time. And then on the third day is when we start to, do a bit of research about events and activities and conferences and meetup groups that are in alignment with what they love to do. So now they have a plan that they can repeatedly execute every single week. Because the thing is, it's not about doing 100 things 5 times. It's about doing 5 things 100 times, right? It's about picking the core skill sets that you need and doing those over and over and over again until you become really, really good at it. And then after the weekend, we stay together for the next 3 months just to make sure that they are in alignment with their goals, that they are moving forward, that there are no confusions. And if there are, we can address it right away and we can make adjustments along the way. Because dating is a process of elimination. It's not a process of manipulation. That's the biggest thing that I tell my guys. You cannot change someone because they're just going to resent you. Find someone who wants the same things that you want, and you're going to be able to do that if you look at the right place to begin with.
And you know what you want.
And you know what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you become that person, too, because you attract who you are.
So is it hard for you, though, Myke, always being, all these different events? Are you currently single, or are you in a relationship at this point?
Myke, tell us what you like to do.
I'm dating. I'm seeing someone right now.
And typically, how did they respond when you tell them what you do?
This is an interesting question because I thought so when I joined the company, I'm like, oh man, I'm totally gonna get so much more dates because I'm in the company.
Yeah, and then side benefit.
Yeah, we know how that turned out.
and because I didn't know how to communicate that to women before, so they would ask me what I do. I said I'm a dating coach, and now they're like, oh, is this some sort of experiment or
am I on camera?
I've been there.
Yeah, so it's about easing women into what I do, right? So I tell them
there's a lot you can't say on a first date,
Yeah, so I tell them I create courses for men.
You're an instructor.
Yeah, well, that's what I say. I create courses for men.
How long does it take you before you really get into it?
So there's the person, and then there's the persona. So I want them to know the person first. So there's Myke Macapinlac in person, and then there's Myke Macapinlac on, Google or TV and stuff like that. So I want them to know me first. So once they,
I get
people
it.
can find me online.
I'm drawing conclusions from the persona because that persona might represent something for them.
Exactly.
And then they start projecting onto your person.
Exactly.
From your persona.
Exactly.
And I can totally relate to that because, my online persona would expect, me to be a completely self-involved, conceited asshole, right? And I'm a pretty nice guy, but I hear you on that. Good advice. I'm having a lot of cognitions just listening to you right now. So
it's powerful stuff.
Yeah. So elaborate on that one. When did you come to that conclusion, if I may, of the persona? Because we know a lot of guys who are doing big things of the person before the persona.
I think it's
explain the difference to us.
Sure. I think it's just understanding the purpose of communication, right? The purpose of communicating with someone is to relate with them. And every single information that you share should be on it should be in increments. Because the thing is, if they're at a 5 and you come in at an 8, then now you've created a massive disconnect. So if they're at a 5, so this is where social intelligence comes into play, right? And you need to be empathetic. You really need to put yourself in the other person's situation and how they're going to process the information you're about to share. So it's about demonstrating just care and genuine curiosity to get to know people. I think a lot of people nowadays are communicating with the intent to respond. They're waiting for that last word, that last letter of the word, so they can say their piece instead of pausing for a few seconds and really absorbing what the other person said. And because sometimes silence is the best answer. You don't need to say much to really, because the most important for every single human being is the need to be understood. Why do we communicate? Why do we argue? Why do we talk? It's because we want to like there's an idea we want to communicate. And just think about your friends, right? You're friends with someone because they understand you, and you feel understood, and you understand them too. And to me, that's what communication is. And so going back to your question about the person and the persona creates a massive disconnect. When you focus on the person, you're focused on relatability, right? I mean, how can we find common grounds here? Are we the same? And if we are, let's explore that. And if we're not, that's cool too. And that can only happen if you're focused on curiosity and connecting.
That's really, really powerful stuff. That's and from what I've seen, I don't want to quite get onto a different conversation thread, but to kind of continue what you're talking about. As far as the going from a persona level, like you've got this image online, you've got this picture of you and what people kind of expect. What do you say when people know you before you meet them? Have you been running into that at all?
Yeah, tons.
Yeah. And how are you overcoming that?
I just say I'm just very thankful the fact that they took the time to. I've been stopped a few times. Just walking around here, actually, on Granville and Robson, there's been a few guys who are like, "Hey, are you Myke Macapinlac?" I'm like, "Yeah, have we met?" Like, "No, I follow you on Instagram or I've seen you on TV." Blah blah blah, and I'm just like very thankful. And immediately, I bring the attention back to them. I'm just like, "Oh, tell me more about yourself. What do you do?" Stuff like that. So,
yeah, you're big on Facebook right now, man. I see all your Facebook ads. You got a seminar, not a seminar, but an online training that's starting. Is that right?
It's a weekly webinar that I do. It's called Never Be Alone, a proven strategy to meet quality women, even if you feel like you're not good enough.
So how does one sign up for that? Is that on your website?
They just go to socialmanproject.com. It's the first thing they're going to see. I picked that name for a specific reason, because if you think about it, right, whether you take my program or you take somebody else's program, you want to meet a girl, but then again, you ask why. Because you want a girlfriend or you want to be with someone. And then you ask why. Because you want companionship. And then you ask why. And it comes down to that core desire. Because you never want to be alone, right? And every single guy, they want to meet a quality girl. That's what they want. They're on Tinder. They're going to the bar. They're buying these expensive cars. They're buying these expensive clothes just to up their chances to meet that quality girl. But it's funny because I've worked with millionaires, man. Millionaires. And they feel like they're not good enough. That's what blows my mind, right? So, which goes to show that it doesn't matter how much external wealth you amass if you don't value yourself. That's why I get all my guys to do a gratitude practice every single morning, because whatever you appreciate appreciates.
You bring up a really good point about the fact that people just identify having material wealth as being having like a complete sense of who you are, and also guys, we get we're guilty of this too, and we think that a lot of dead gorgeous women have everything figured out, and a lot of times they're just as lonely or just as confused as anyone else is.
The first 2 months that I just moved to Vancouver. I've been here for 3 months. I just got a place in Yaletown. But the first 8 weeks that I was here, I was sleeping on a couch, and I didn't even have a car here in Vancouver. And I went on dates with actresses, with models, because I didn't care, because my sense of self-fulfillment is not it's not attached to where I live or where I sleep or what I drive. I really don't care. Because the thing is, if I'm going to be judged based on that, then we're probably not a good match to begin with. Because there's so much more to me than what I have or what I'm wearing or how I'm coming across. You know, it's where my life is going, and
The
I focus
potential,
on
right?
that. Yeah.
So you've come to these realizations and these cognitions, Myke, and you know you can see it in you, right? And that's what makes you up as a person, not the car, not the house, not the clothing. And I think as well, especially with Andrew here, because he's seen it a lot in his industry, is your body is your home as well, and it's just another thing that you have. Mm-hmm. It isn't you. Mm-hmm. Right? Because we see so many guys. I worked in the fitness industry. Andrew is really working on revolutionizing the whole image around that, is people attaching their self-image to what their biceps look like, mm-hmm. right? And I still fall into it a little bit. Like I was sick recently, some food poisoning, and I lost a lot of weight, like 10 pounds, like bam, mm-hmm. right? And then people are telling me how skinny I look, right? And it kind of irked me for a bit. I'm like, wait a minute, like I feel great. You know, like I don't care. It's nothing to do with me. Mm-hmm. So here's the thing. We're not teaching this stuff in school. And the percentage, I've coached between 1,800 and 2,000 salespeople since my career started in sales coaching. And most of them are young males. And I saw in about 98, 99% of them, they don't have that self-validation, mm-hmm. right? You're a self-validated individual. Anybody listening can hear it, right? Anybody who can see, everyone can see that. How long have you been doing this for? How long have you been working on yourself? This cognition didn't come from one book. I mean, I don't know how often you hear, what book what did you read? You know, what audiobook or whatever, right? How long have you been working on yourself, Myke?
Oh, man.
And what does that involve? Like, tell us a little bit about your development path.
Sure.
Maybe some of the books you read, some of the courses you've taken. Tell us a little bit about that.
I think, there's information and then there's transformation, and those are two different things. And most people get caught up with just consuming, like the next book, the next audiobook, the next podcast episode. But the thing is, it's the application that produces transformation. Mm-hmm. You can literally read one book, and if you actually implement the lessons you've learned from that book, is when transformation happens. It's not
the
about
lessons are create experience, and the experience creates the transformation.
Wisdom
right?
comes from applied knowledge. So you need to act on it, right? So my morning routine, I mean, lately I've been going to bed at 10. I've been up at 5. I meditate for 10 minutes, and I visualize. I don't leave my house until I can see how my day is gonna pan out. I'm so clear about how my day is gonna pan out that it just I'm not even surprised, when I have
life at a high level. That's living at the highest level.
Specific conversations, I'm not even surprised because I almost expect it to happen.
It's funny that you're bringing up having a morning routine. Like, me and Corey and the rest of us here, we have really, gone through that and developed our own routine. And that's just been a byproduct of our own personal development. But for the general public there, like, no one ever has a morning routine. They just, get up, brush your teeth, and they're off with a cup of coffee.
They let their day happen.
Yeah, they let their day happen. They never mentally prepare or get in that mindset of they can control their day. Their day just controls them.
I look at it like, everyone knows today's the only day you have, right? But how would you prepare if it was a gold medal day? If you were an Olympian, an athlete, and today was the only day that mattered, the only fucking day that mattered, mm-hmm. because you had trained your whole life for this moment, to go out there and kill it, right? For whatever it was, you're a swimmer or you're playing sports. You wouldn't let stubbing your toe mess with that. You're like, man, I got a gold medal to win. I'm going to get psyched up. I'm going to eat a good breakfast. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to calm my mind. I'm going to feel good. I'm going to visualize the feeling of winning that medal. That's how you would do every day. The thing is, you only have one day. Mm-hmm. And then if you tie that into like Will Smith, and he says you build a wall one brick at a time, it's the same thing as how you build a life, right? So I'm with you on the morning routine. Now, I want to talk, because we might have digressed a bit, but I want to tie that into your development path. Mm-hmm. And 99% of people don't have this. They're not self-validated because we have an entire industry of people's stuff to patch the needs that they're not able to meet on their own. Mm-hmm. Clothing, drugs, booze, sex, reality television, right? The news. People are looking out for their emotional fix, and here sits a man in front of us that can look within. So, what are some things that people can do right away? Maybe they can't afford your workshops, because I know they're way their value far exceeds their cost. But for the people that want to make some changes right away,
plan.
all right, I love it. We're gonna throw a little bit of pitch in there. We'll talk about that. But what do you say to the people who want to make an immediate change on how to start becoming more self-validated?
The first thing that I teach on my boot camp is I get my guys to close their eyes and I get them to imagine their funeral. And I get them to imagine that it's their last day, and I get them to write their own obituary. Like, what are people going to be saying about you? I'm just going to say this right now, 70% of the thing that I teach on a boot camp is not even dating related. Why? Because the best relationship that you have is the one with yourself. And the best time to be in a relationship is when you don't need one. How you feel when you don't have a girlfriend and how you feel with a girlfriend shouldn't be any different. So the first thing that I would say is figure out, like, what's your legacy? How are you going to be remembered? And then write that down. Seriously, write that down. And then from then on, integrate a morning practice of gratitude. Write down 5 things that you love about yourself. What are you thankful for about yourself? Okay, you're 5'5". What's so good about being 5'5"? Oh, it means that, girls think you're more friendly and you're easier to talk to.
You pack on more muscle.
And it makes working on cars easier too.
Exactly.
I'm not a tall guy either. So.
Exactly, right? There's so many things, there's so many things that you can be thankful for. Because I'll be honest with you, man, for a long time, I didn't like being Asian. I'll be honest, straight up, for 18 to 25, I wish I was somebody else. And then I started to appreciate the richness of my culture, the fact that I'm very loyal and family oriented, and we have great work ethics, and we tan very easy. And we really care. And I'm not saying other cultures don't, but I'm really focused on what I have. And then from then on, I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, man, I'm so happy to be me.
Right. And just touching back on the gratitude, being alive and living a life is a miracle in itself. Like, you beat probably 4 billion other sperms just to get here. You're here for a reason, right?
Yeah. I tell my guys, one of the greatest gifts that life has to offer is the opportunity to find that one thing that gets you out of bed every single morning. Yeah. Once you find that thing, man, sleeping becomes the worst part of your day. You hate going to bed. Because you're like, man, I'm being taken away from living my passion, and you can't wait to just live life the next day.
That's because your dreams are happening while you're awake.
Yeah.
So
It's
really profound, man.
So morning gratitude, and then I am statements. I think those 3 things, figure out the legacy you want to leave. Write down, start with 5 things you're thankful for, and then, eventually graduate to 10, and then you write down I am statements, because your identity, you can become whoever you want to become, right? You got to be able to you can craft the identity that you want, and you're in charge of that. You can literally write your own history. So by writing down I am statements every single day, like I am worthy, I am abundant, I am giving, I am attractive, I am desired. Eventually you believe that, right? And then you act like it, and the next thing you know, you are that person. So that's it. Simple, easy. But like what I said, right? It's doing 5 things 100 times. It's not about doing 100 things 5 times.
How are we doing for time, Dad?
Well, let's ask Myke. Myke, how are we doing for time? I know you're a busy guy, and you got to wrap things up. So we got 5 more minutes?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
All right. So we got Farshad over there being a little quiet. Farsh, any insight you want to...
Oh, man, my mind is blown after that. I got to go back and listen to this, and I learned a lot of new things today. For me, though, Myke, I actually just got out of a relationship like a week ago. And I find that I'm happier not having a girlfriend, because I'm at that stage where, I really want to focus on myself and develop what I have going on and my drive. So would you recommend that to most people, or finding a relationship and getting involved with someone, or finding themselves first? You know, so
A lot of people look for their better halves when the thing is you can't, like, you're looking, like, you can't look for an incomplete person, right? You got to be looking for your better whole, because the thing is you got to be a complete person on your own, and you find another complete person too. So it's two complete people getting together, and until you feel, and this is when you know you're a complete person, right? When like what I said, when how you feel, when you're happy to be just by yourself, you know, enjoying a glass of wine, you know, at a restaurant on a Friday night on your own, and you're genuinely happy. When you don't have this craving to be with someone, and you're looking at other people, and you're like, oh, like why don't I have that? Until you get to a point where you look at yourself in the mirror, and you're like, man, I'm so happy to just be me. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the best time to be in a relationship. Mm-hmm. So you just do you, bro. For sure. That's right.
For those ladies that are listening, Farshad has beautiful blue eyes. The man can cook. He's a great host. The man can sell as well.
The best host.
So, Farshad, where can they reach you at? Farshad, you got a social media?
Just come find me on Stronghold. That's what we're working on right now. And yeah.
All right.
You know, Myke, when you said dating should complement you, you know, that really resonated with me really well. One thing I've thought to myself recently, you know, is how many people can really say that they're in love? Because I can tell you right now, I'm in love. I'm a single man, but I'm in love, right? Because I'm in love with myself. That's the truth, right? When you say that, a lot of people, they externalize themselves, their happiness is because they don't have self-love, right? So they have to find validation elsewhere.
Because it's easy to hear it from other people, right? You know, the amount of love you'll be able to receive is the amount of love that you already have. Because the thing is, anything beyond that, you're not going to be able to accept it. You know, it wouldn't make sense, and that's when people sabotage relationship. Or actually, that's why people stay in abusive relationships, because, you know, they actually think that by being in that relationship and they're hurting, you know, that they're getting what they think they deserve. So I truly agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, one of the biggest things I see that happens quite often, okay, is that whether it's a girl or a guy, they meet somebody, right, and immediately they decide, oh, I'm in love with this person. This person's perfect for me, right? What do you think is the cause of that? Why do they just all of a sudden fall in love with whatever they can get?
It's a sugar high. We had sugar for a while, and all of a sudden you get it. But I'll let Myke talk about it.
Yeah. This is funny. Let's listen to this.
Your question again one more time?
So I see this happen quite often.
I think he's saying that almost that infatuation, that hit of like meeting somebody and then being like, wow, this is the person for me. Mm-hmm. You know,
the very first person that will walk into their life, they'll be like, oh man, this is the person for me.
I think it comes out of thirst, maybe. You know, this is the best drink I've ever had, but if I've been walking through the Sahara, it's going to taste good.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Something relevant to that. What a piece of bread looks like depends whether you're hungry or not.
Wow.
So I'll just leave it at that. Right? If you're hungry, that bread looks good. But if you're complete and you're satisfied, you're like, oh, you know what? It's all good. I don't need carbs.
And that's when you know what good food tastes like. Pardon the pun, but truly, right? Yeah. I'm glowing lately, but I've been so on point this month, and I've been sitting in a sauna, you know? So I just met somebody recently who I'm totally hitting it off with, and I'm like, but I know it's not from lack, and that's why I'm kind of excited. You know, because I'm like, damn, I feel good. Yeah. I was feeling good before this. I feel good regardless of direction that this goes anyway, so it's good.
Corey's full.
I'm full.
He ain't hungry.
Yeah, you know that, and I really just that cliche point, you know, the Tom Cruise point from Jerry Maguire. You complete me. And I just always thought that was such bullshit. Like, no, you don't complete me. And I actually make a point of saying that when I'm dating. It's like, you don't complete me, and I don't complete you. You're whole, I'm whole. Together we're more, but we're both complete.
Exactly.
Right. So way to hit the nail on the head. We could take this down a really deep rabbit hole, and I think we need to have you out again for another one. And I really want to talk, and the project that Dad and I are working on, we're really working on revolutionizing education, particularly post-secondary, and really preparing people for the business world, really preparing them for how to live on a high level, socially, how to live on a high level with their fitness and holistic
finances,
health.
everything.
Just holistic living, covering your finances, your money, your business, your communication skills. And that's what we're really obsessed about because we don't feel the education system's doing a good job. We're seeing people coming out of colleges and universities. I'm doing events at colleges and universities where I'm speaking, and I'm seeing people who are starving for wisdom. Mm-hmm. And we would love to have you on again and really pick your brain on the education system and what you think we can incorporate to help, revolutionize education.
Or even like have you as a guest coming in for one of our events.
Oh, let's do that for sure.
Yeah, hit me up. I'm flattered.
Yeah, we should like...
He's only in town for, another couple months?
Oh, we'll come to Calgary, baby. I'll fly there, no problem.
You're a man of high value. We'll travel to accommodate.
We'll come to you, man.
All right, so Myke, last little note here before you leave. How can people find you? What social media are you on? And what's the best way for someone to reach you and participate in your project?
And what kind of deal are you going to give the A-team sales? That's what I want to know. What kind of discount do my salespeople get? That's what I want to know.
How can we give the audience a package or a promotion?
Keep on code DATLY.
Keep on code LATHL, living at the highest level, guys. This has been our first official episode coming to a close. Again, thank you very much to our special guest. And we're out.
Myke Macapinlac. Find him on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
You know what? Just go to socialmanproject.com. Unfortunately, my mom married my dad with a very complicated last name. So I love my dad too. I love my mom. But find me at socialmanproject.com, and you'll be able to connect with me and all my social media stuff there. So I really appreciate it, guys. Corey, Dad, Andrew, Farshad, I really appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. I'm really flattered.
Yeah, we loved having you here, man.
Yeah. Keep on living at the highest level.
If you guys ever want to check out Myke Macapinlac some more, you can check out his Stronghold segment.
That's right.
Right? You guys can check it out. Head out to our Facebook page, Stronghold Health and Fitness, and Myke is featured on there.
Boom.
If you're looking for a Persian man, Farshad's available.
With a full beard, too.
All right, well, everyone's putting in their cheap plugs. Check out.
Well, then check out Andrew at Andrew Al or Andrew_SHFit.
Yeah, there you go, baby. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I'm Corey Leaf. You had Dat Lee here with Myke Macapinlac, Farshad Kivi, and Andrew Al. Signing off. Have a great one. Live life at the highest level. Live consciously and live life with the lights on.
There's no other way to live, guys, and we're out.
Thanks again for tuning in to Living at the Highest Level. We'll see you next week.